Today, we'll cover all the major news that happened over the last few days. First, Elon Musk has announced that xAI will be launching a 100,000 H100 training supercomputer in a few months. And the next big step will be 300,000 Nvidia B200s next summer. He wasn't kidding when he said they'll be building the gigafactory of compute that'll be 100 times the compute today. Second, Tesla China's Vice President Grace Tao announced that in the first quarter, Tesla Model 3's complaint rate in China was just 5.3%. It's the lowest in the industry. So could it be that people actually love Tesla's cars in China? And third, we've got video now showing off what the navigation map will look like for Tesla vehicles in China. And boy, does it ever look amazing. We'll also report on what Huawei CEO said about Tesla's FSD. We've got Jeff Lutz joining us. He's a chief supply chain executive in previous Fortune 100 companies, and he's now running his own consulting firms. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Great to be with you.
I love it when we do these. We do the roundup, and not only the most recent news that happened in the last few days, but people get to get your opinion on more than just one topic. And so every once in a while, we'll cover this. This is the big news that came out this weekend because it's quite revealing how much compute that Elon is trying to get, not only for xAI, but also Tesla. So this person, Arvind Srinivas, posted this poll: who's likely to build the first 1 million H100 GPUs or equivalent data center? 1 million H100s. Is it going to be Meta? Is it OpenAI? Is it Google? Is it X? He didn't even put Tesla in there, but he should have. But Elon replies, says, given the pace of technology improvement, it's not worth sinking 1 gigawatt of power into the H100s. The xAI 100,000 H100 liquid-cooled training cluster will be online in a few months. But then the next big step is going to be the 300,000 B200s. So why would you go with the 800s? You go with the next version with CX8 networking next summer. So that's coming up in a year. And then Devin Kim, who works for xAI, said, we are building the gigafactory of compute. Future models will take over 100 times the compute of current frontier models to train. And very few teams are positioned to keep pace. I guess the way he's positioning is that, you'll need 100 times. He's not kind of hinting that that's what they're going to do, but he didn't say it straight out. What's your thoughts on all this? I know you're following this quite closely, Jeff.
Yeah, I think what's unique about what Elon, Tesla, and xAI are doing is he's uniquely focused on the end consumer application for all these, H100 equivalents, meaning you see probably the most advanced bot program out there, and a company that actually has the chops to actually be able to mass produce it from a manufacturing perspective. Then of course you've got the real world autonomy with full self-driving, with potentially up to 1 million people have either tried it or are using it. We know there's at least a base of 500,000 that are using it. So Tesla's actually got some scale building around the end consumer. So actually consumers going into their pocketbook and saying, I'm going to spend a meaningful amount of money every month for an AI solution. Tesla's got it first with FSD. They've got the bot right behind it. They've got the Robotaxi network, probably between the bot and FSD. And I think that puts them, and of course they've got Grok, and they've got, the former Twitter, now X, going. So there's, he's on all fronts. There's an end user application. Now I would say arguably I would put xAI in with Perplexity, with ChatGPT, with Google Gemini. Is like, okay, there's these now kind of multimodal, call them, chatbots or language models. And, right now there's still some work. There's no data on record that says that xAI has a lead yet per se there, but they're obviously, they're a fast follower and they're catching up, and they've got a plan for significant scale. So this is really turning into an arms race. I think, again, the thing that really differentiates the efforts from Elon and others is he's got the landing point. He's designing the whole system end to end, from the network infrastructure all the way down to the inference that's used, and all the way down to the end consumer application. And he's actually selling the end consumer application first in vehicles with FSD, then with robotaxis, and then finally the bot. And so he's gonna be able to control that end-to-end experience. That's powerful. So the other thing about, going from the H100s to the B200s, I think the B200s are like at least 30 times more powerful. So when you look at those equivalents, they're going to have a massive amount of compute. If they're bringing up the 100K H100 clusters summer, and then the following summer, the B200 cluster, I mean, this is a massive amount of compute. And again, the difference is the scale that Elon can bring, the manufacturing capability of the end user products, and being able to actually face off with that consumer base. And then he actually has the landing points in the three that I mentioned earlier. So kind of a very powerful thing he's building.
Jeff, I know this is hard to know because none of us know this, but just about 3 weeks ago, about a month ago, Elon said that, if Meta is number one, Tesla's number two, and xAI is number three in terms of number of compute to H100 equivalents. Do you think any of that's changed with the most recent, $6 billion that xAI raised and the comments you've seen here?
No, I mean, I think they're probably closing the gap. And we know that other companies like Amazon and both their end inference solution and some of the network infrastructure that they were trying to do is not working out as well. So they're probably the word is that they may be needing more Nvidia solutions as well. So every hyperscaler, so the hyperscalers are the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world, Oracle, so forth. Every hyperscaler came out in their earnings call for this previous quarter, and they basically said, we're buying Nvidia product, we're buying compute, and we're probably going to buy more compute throughout the rest of this year than we originally planned, and next year is going to be bigger than the current year. So there's a pretty broad runway here, and there's basically a tweet, like, look, we're going to continue to expand this pretty massively. Everybody is out there doing this, so there's pretty universal agreement that more compute is going to be needed at a very significant scale to actually accomplish what all these hyperscalers are looking for. So I think Tesla, and then definitely Tesla plus xAI are going to always be in the top three of that conversation. And there's one thing about how much compute you're buying. It's another thing about the actual efficiency of your use of it and the utilization of it. That's the other thing. I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing some partnership deals like with Oracle and so forth. So there can be some load sharing and burden sharing as well.
Okay, good. So let's talk Tesla bot and the Robotics AI race. Jensen Huang was just at a keynote at Computex a few days ago, and we're going to play a little bit of what he said there. But Elon Musk replied, talking about the acceleration of robotics AI is coming out there. So we've got Pierre Ferragu. He's one of the top Tesla analysts, and he's pointed out worth the 16 minutes. Listen to this Jensen Huang keynote, best keynote ever. Touches on everything that matters: roadmap cadence, scaling, real-world AI, million GPU data center. This is where people are now asking who's going to be the first to get a million GPU data center. Warning will make you want to buy Nvidia stock. Side note, fun to hear Jensen and Elon views converging. Elon says the AI robot future is coming fast. So I'll play a little bit of just the first bit, and then we'll do another bit, and then we'll go to the robots area.
This last 60 years, we saw several tectonic shifts in computing where everything changed. And we're about to see that happen again. The further performance we drive up, the greater the cost decline. Hopper platform, of course, was the most successful data center processor probably in history. However, Blackwell is here, and every single platform, as you'll notice, are several things. You got the CPU, you have the GPU, you have NVLink, you have the NIC, and you have the switch. Every single generation, as you'll see, is not just the GPU, but it's an entire platform. We build the entire platform. We integrate the entire platform into an AI factory supercomputer. However, then we disaggregate it and offer it to the world. Our basic philosophy is very simple. One, build the entire data center scale, disaggregate it, and sell it to you in parts on a one-year rhythm, and we push everything to technology limits. whatever TSMC process technology will push it to the absolute limits. Whatever packaging technology, push it to the absolute limits. Whatever memory technology, push it to absolute limits. SerDes technology, optics technology, everything is pushed to the limit. Well, Blackwell is here. Next year is Blackwell Ultra. Just as we had H100 and H200, you'll probably see some pretty exciting new generation from us for Blackwell Ultra. Well, this is the very first time, and I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to regret this or not. We have code names in our company, and we try to keep them very secret. Most of the employees don't even know. But our next generation platform is called Rubin. So we have the Rubin platform, and 1 year later, we'd have the Rubin Ultra platform. All of these chips that I'm showing you here are all in full development.
Wow. Okay. So I'll pause it there, Jeff. He's talking about Rubin and he was talking about Blackwell. Are they the same thing or are they even different? As he said, next year is Blackwell.
Rubin's the evolution after Blackwell. So that's going to be a whole new platform after Blackwell. So think of Hopper, current H100, and then the Blackwell, and then on to Rubin. And then in between those, there's kind of ultra versions of each one of those. So there'll be a Blackwell Ultra coming. I heard a number of things. And again, I've sourced and worked with Nvidia in the past when they were trying to do their entry into smartphones, and they were a great team to work with back then, and they're very innovative. A couple of things I heard. First off, I think he was trying to stress the importance that Nvidia is much more than the GPU. What goes into that data center is the GPU, the CPU, the NVLink, the NAC, and like the spine. There's going to show in a bit. And I think that's really important because not everybody can do what NVIDIA is doing. This is thought through as a whole system. And I think everybody wants to come on stage and hold up a wafer or hold up one chunk of silicon and say, look, we got something. What he keeps bringing out on stage are just literally the visualizations or the actual pieces of an entire data center where they're thinking through the whole system end to end. How do you reduce the latency? How do you improve power? How do you improve performance? And so they're thinking through all of those things and as a system. I think that's really important. The thing that you should keep your eye on as as a follower, as an investor, when he says, "Hey, we're pushing everything to the limits of the latest process technology," as a sourcing expert in supply chain, that, especially on the process engineering side, that would always kind of pique my interest. It sounds good that you want to push the limits of process technology all the time, but you're also going to have some unpredictable behavior when you do that. So to me, it's a question of how much do you do that? Do you push the envelope on everything, the CPU, the GPU, the NVLink? Do you do it on everything, or do you pick pieces and say, okay, we're going to really reach out here, but here we're going to, because if you look at the H100 ramp, I mean, it is uncommon to have a 52-week lead time for that period of time. So they were backlogged for a year. Normally, this normal lead time for this product should be like 16 weeks, maybe 20 weeks, and they were out at a year. Now they brought it down on the H100s, but that's actually not the position. I know everybody says, oh my God, there's more demand than supply. And sure, some of it may have been a forecasting issue, but when you're getting orders with a year's worth of visibility and it takes you over a year and a half to catch up, that's kind of an issue. So when they ramped the H100s, they had a lot of issues with the high bandwidth memory. I think from SK Hynix and Samsung, and they had availability problems there. So they're really pushing the envelope on the high bandwidth memory. And I think on the chip on wafer on substrate, they were also having some process issues and getting that ironed out with TSMC. Again, this is not uncommon to have issues. Question is like, what's the extent and the amount of time, and how much new stuff are you packing in terms of process technology? Remember, it's okay to like drive the performance and so forth. The question is like how much you packing into one release. That could be something to be a little bit, just keep an eye on that, I would say. But yeah, I think the message there was we're pushing the limits. We do this whole system. We think of it as a whole system, and that makes NVIDIA special. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to point out that Elon Musk and Jensen Huang are friends, and Elon's able to buy it is, he managed that relationship, and he's buying their equipment, their whole system, and it's looking like that he is able to get it ahead of everyone else. I mean, I don't know if I can say that properly, but here's right. I just want to remind people. Here's Elon's tweet, and he said next big step would probably be 300,000 B200s. That's the next version, and I'm glad to hear that Tesla and xAI will have access to this. The other thing is that the AI robot future is coming fast. Now, in this case, Nvidia could be a competitor to Tesla because they are powering Nvidia, at least 9 humanoid robot companies. Let's watch what it is that Nvidia does for these humanoid bot competitors.
Just one quick comment, Herbert.
Yes. Yeah.
That relationship is extremely important. I've been in the room because the product is on allocation. So the Blackwell is going to be on allocation. Allocation means there's much more demand than supply. And it usually goes up to the CEO office in many cases. They say, all right, because there's much more demand than supply, and everybody basically asks for it at the same time, this is the order in which I'm going to give supply out with. Now, that information will only be kept inside of NVIDIA. So if someone claims that they know that someone's going to get it over someone else, that information will be kept inside of NVIDIA and held very tightly. But the other important thing, why Tesla and why xAI may be getting product before everyone, besides the relationship, is what I brought up earlier, which is they actually have a landing point for their product for end consumers to actually buy it and consume it. And as a system designer and manufacturer of this, this AI system that NVIDIA is doing, the worst thing that they could do is load somebody up with hundreds of thousands of H100 equivalents. And then this company looks around and says, well, my product isn't good. It's not selling through, and I need you to take some of this back. And it's a disaster. That's where a lot of the cyclicality comes in in the silicon procurement and manufacturing world. But that's also where a lot of excess and obsolescence comes in. And that's a nasty word. The E and the O, excess and obsolescence, is a nasty word. That means I ordered too much product. There's too much supply in channel. I built too much product. NVIDIA and TSMC, there's too much in channel. And TSMC takes a hit. NVIDIA takes a hit. The consumer takes a hit. The end business customer takes a hit. It's a really bad problem. So the other reason that I think Jensen called out Tesla as being far ahead in self-driving and really a leader in a number of respects, they have to have this mutual respect. NVIDIA wants to ship to Elon and Tesla because he actually has the end consumer application up and running, and there's a demand for his product. So I think that point is really important. And as long as Elon can continue to do that and show that he has a path to monetize AI, they're going to
be first,
be in a good position.
I love it. Great point, Jeff. Thank you. 2 really good points there. I hadn't even thought of that, but that makes me feel better as a Tesla investor. Now let's watch a little bit of the robot future.
AI that understands the laws of physics. They have to, of course, have excellent cognitive capabilities so they can understand us, understand what we asked, and perform the tasks. Of course, when I say robotics, there's a humanoid robotics that's usually the representation of that. But that's not at all true. Everything is going to be robotic. All of the factories will be robotic. The factories will orchestrate robots, and those robots will be building products that are robotic. Robots interacting with robots, building products that are robotic. Well, in order for us to do that, we need to make some breakthroughs. First, we're going to create platforms for each type of robotic systems. One for robotic factories and warehouses. One for robots that manipulate things. One for robots that move. And one for robots that are humanoid. And so each one of these robotics platform is like almost everything else we do. A computer, acceleration libraries, and pre-trained models. Computers, acceleration libraries, pre-trained models. And we test everything, we train everything, and integrate everything inside Omniverse, where Omniverse is where robots learn how to be robots. Now, of course, the ecosystem of robotic warehouses is really, really complex. It takes a lot of companies, a lot of tools, a lot of technology to build a modern warehouse. And warehouses are increasingly robotic. One of these days will be fully robotic. Now let's talk about factories. Factories has a completely different ecosystem. A robotic factory is designed with 3 computers. Train the AI on Nvidia AI. You have the robot running on the PLC systems for orchestrating the factories. And then you, of course, simulate everything inside Omniverse. Well, the robotic arm and the robotic AMRs are also the same way, 3 computer systems. And we provide the computer, the acceleration layers, and pre-trained AI models. We've connected NVIDIA Manipulator and NVIDIA Omniverse with Siemens, the world's leading industrial automation software and systems company. This is really a fantastic partnership, and they're working on factories all over the world. And that's the factory, the robots inside, and of course, all the products are going to be robotics. So there are 2 very high volume robotics products. One, of course, is the self-driving car, or cars that have a great deal of autonomous capability. NVIDIA, again, builds the entire stack. Next year, we're going to go to production with the Mercedes fleet, and after that, in 2026, the JLR fleet. The next high-volume robotics product that's going to be manufactured by robotic factories with robots inside will likely be humanoid robots. And this has great progress in recent years in both the cognitive capability because of foundation models and also the world understanding capability that we're in the process of developing. I'm really excited about this area because obviously the easiest robot to adapt into the world are humanoid robots because we built the world for us. We also have the most amount of data to train these robots than other types of robots because we have the same physique. And so the amount of training data we can provide through demonstration capabilities and video capabilities is going to be really great. And so we're going to see a lot of progress in this area. Well, I think we have some robots that we'd like to welcome. Here we go. About my size. And we have some friends to join us. So the future of robotics is here. The next wave of AI, and of course, you know, Taiwan builds computers with keyboards. You build computers for your pocket. You build computers for data centers in the cloud. In the future, you're going to build computers that walk. And as it turns out, the technology is very similar to the technology of building all of the other computers that you already built today. So this is going to be a really extraordinary journey for us.
So first of all, those humanoid bots that he partnered with, it was just an image. Unfortunately, they're not the real ones, but still. So this is coming. It is amazing. And so this is NVIDIA partnering with, you know, like they're the Android, right? And this is a space you know very well, iPhone versus Android. They're going to become the Android. They're going to power all these other bot companies because they don't have the ability. Tesla's going to do everything on their own. And I think the difference is that Tesla's willing to license theirs as well. At some point, I'm sure we're going to hear that as well. Is anybody who's a humanoid bot vendor, you want to license our technology? What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I think the possibilities are endless. I like at the end he calls the example of Taiwan being kind of it's actually the birthplace of a lot of computer manufacturing, just traditional computer manufacturing. Quanta, so many different companies came out of Taiwan, or actually Taiwanese. You see them running Foxconn. You see them running in China. They think of like major Chinese company, and they have a major Chinese presence, but they came from Taiwan. Taiwan's an amazing country, amazing innovation when it comes to computers, manufacturing, robot development, the smartphone world, silicon manufacturing, silicon equipment manufacturing. I mean, Taiwan is it's just an amazing place of innovation. So I'm glad he called that out. And this is where the show was at. So yeah, I think Tesla would be, to answer your question, I think Tesla is open to licensing out the work that they're doing. But I think on the bot, I think everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, it seems like there's some battle lines that are forming in terms of partnerships and groups of companies that are going to be partnering with Nvidia for the inference and for the training side, and partnering with OpenAI and maybe other companies for the language model piece of it. So it seems like battle lines are being drawn, and Tesla is obviously trying to do an end-to-end system of their own. And of course, they're continuing to work with Nvidia on the network infrastructure and training side. So I think they could be open to it. The thing I come back to is from being an OEM and working on original equipment manufacturer. So being, like the Tesla or the, you name it, like kind of larger company working on one of these robots. To me, a lot of what I don't understand in this model with Nvidia, and I saw this with Android as well. What Android did is Android picked a lead. So Android worked on a major release every year. And then there was, there's obviously security updates every month, but a major release, they were desserts. They were named after desserts every year, and it would come out around the September, timeframe. And it's not clear here on it looks like Nvidia says, look, in the speech, look, every year we're going to ship a new system. It's going to be better than the prior system. And I don't think there's going to be any Osborning with that as well, because the system from the prior year is going to be extremely capable, and it's going to be in supply, and the new system for the new year is not going to be in supply. So this is actual hardware. So on the case of what Nvidia is doing, it's going to be interesting to me. Like, how can they accelerate something getting to an end user solution than something that can actually get to scale when you have so many different partners feeding in so many different priorities? To me, like, that's the piece of it. So, for example, if Nvidia has a lead partner, and it sounds like they're saying Mercedes on the autonomy side for cars, but I think in all these examples where they say, like, hey, we're working with 80 partners on the vehicle side, to me, like, there has to be a lead. I don't know if it's a lead by region or if it's a lead just overall, but just somebody to work with. Say, all right, once we get this system working, we would like to work with that partner to help license it elsewhere. And otherwise, I just don't know how do they get to the door quicker than a company like a Tesla, who has kind of this end-to-end system, vertical integration, very quick decision making up and down the chain, and really all the way up from Elon all the way down to the person in the reliability lab that's looking at the crash data that says, hey, look, we need to be able to control this motor faster and be able to respond to this in an accident or accident avoidance. All that happens inside of Tesla, and the question is how are you going to do that when you're doing this distributed system with Nvidia and so many different partners feeding in so many different priorities? That's just the one question that comes to mind. It's easy to say, like, they'll work it out. They're Nvidia, they're smart, they'll figure it out. But it's actually, it's one of the advantages of being vertically integrated if you have the capability to do the full stack end to end. And I think Tesla does. So I'll be interested to see how this evolves.
I like the way Jensen Huang presented it, which is it's massive. This is not just humanoid. We're talking about mobile robots. We're talking about factory robots. And so if Tesla decides that they're going to license, which they likely will because they're already willing to license the automotive one bit of it, this would be just massive, this potential opportunity for Tesla. And there will be many, success. NVIDIA will succeed. All these companies will succeed. This is just a big change to the world. Okay, so we've got 3 more big news about Tesla in China. So I want to get there as soon as we can. So this is Grace Tao. She's a vice president, one of the big names in Tesla China. She's been on the news recently. She came out and said that in the first quarter of 2024 in China, the Tesla Model 3's complaint rate is the lowest in the industry at 5.3%. And she, posted it directly on Weibo. Tesla makes cars that consumers love, and it makes them feel satisfied. Tesla Chan, very well respected. He often has, this person has great information. Follow them on X. So this is the post that Grace Tao posted up, and you see this table here. And this is the complaint rate. So Model 3 is the best at 5.3%. And you can see all the other cars here just crazy. And unfortunately, I can't read Chinese, so I don't know which is which here. Which one is way at the very, very bottom, but 97.7% complete.
And nobody liked it. Yeah.
Nobody liked
it.
But like, this is important because, there's only a few that are 5.3, and then it just rises. So you can see a lot of competitors, but Tesla's doing really well. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. A lot goes into this. I retweeted this. First off, social media is, in terms of like product pricing, product preference, product features, product performance, quality, Weibo, social media in China is everything. People get onto that and they blast information, they aggregate information on social media platforms, whether it's a big pricing change or there's a big quality issue. So when you have information like this, it's like saying, hey, look, this is literally the best vehicle in terms of user satisfaction in China. That, I'm sure, went viral, and it's a big deal in China. And from being a chief quality officer of a company, there's a lot that goes into keeping that complaint rate low, all the way from the last 3 feet of that sales experience. And did you sell the product in the right way? Did you make sure it was lined up to what the consumer wanted? They understand the features, they understand the performance, they understand the value, they understand what they're paying for, all the way from that point to the decisions that Lars and the team make in terms of a product design. And that new Model 3 with the improved noise reduction, with the latching of the improved latching of the door, everything feels much more solid. The ambient lighting, the performance, the seats, everything that went into making that more of a premium experience. You're seeing, the first quarter, that would have been the second or third quarter of production, for China, of the new Model 3, of it being available. And, it's getting great marks. So that information, I think the takeaways for me is great. Bad or good news like that travels very quickly in China. And there's a lot that goes into being number one on something like that from a quality metric. I think the corollary, in the kind of the Western world is net promoter score, and Tesla has record net promoter scores for automobiles, and actually in some cases for multiple product categories. Tesla consumers buy Teslas and they like them and they recommend them. That's what the net promoter score is about. And so you have this feedback in China, you have the very high net promoter scores in kind of the Western world, and it's really showing that Tesla's really pulling this whole thing together and shipping a great experience for consumers. So this is great news.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So this is, we finally got video of what Tesla's navigation map will look like in the vehicles in China, and it is amazing. I'm going to turn this off a little bit, but we can watch it. So 2D, 3D, but it just looks, I don't know. What do you think, Jeff? It looks so much better than what we've got.
Yeah, I want our maps here to look like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've driven in China, I mean, I've not driven myself, but if you've been driven or you've traveled in China, I think this is really first off, the roads are in amazing shape, and they're just constant construction and improvement. And I think this is great. It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful on the screen, and that's important. That's part of the user experience for drivers and for passengers as well, to see and say, hey, what is that? Well, it's Baidu Maps running on a Tesla. And those are two very, well-respected brands and regions. So this is great to see. And again, Baidu is supposedly reached out to Tesla to partner on FSD itself. At least they're interested in evaluating it. So yeah, this is I think a big advancement.
That's great. Okay. That's another sign to show that they're going to move forward here. Here's Huawei CEO, who's a competitor to Tesla in terms of full self-driving. And he still says that Huawei's autonomous system is slightly superior to FSD in China. I love it. Slightly superior to FSD in China. But he did say that Tesla has a massive fleet data advantage and has been working on FSD for a long time. The system's really good. Since FSD is unavailable in China, Huawei sent engineers to California and Canada to test it out. He believes Huawei's autonomous is slightly superior still, right? the claim of which now obviously deviates from his earlier well ahead claim. He initially said that Huawei is still well ahead. Of course, he needs to position this way. And just to, this is him and he's being interviewed and this is kind of his positioning. So I just wanted to point that out that, clearly whenever this is not the first time, this is now multiple CEOs of different Chinese-led autonomous vehicles basically saying Tesla's the leader, Tesla's well ahead. We're going to catch up, but they know that they're not. And then a few of them has already, at least one of them, has said that we'd like to partner, we'd be open to partner. So,
yeah, I think more will too. And these Chinese companies, I've competed with these companies, and they've been around for now a couple of decades. These aren't new flashes in the pan or new in the sea. Huawei's been around. Huawei's doing their own silicon design. BYD's been around. These are multi-decade companies that are admiring Tesla, want to partner with Tesla. BYD already has an existing partnership with them today, and I think Tesla's. You don't hear these conversations about Ford, GM, or Stellantis as much. You really hear them. They're tearing down Teslas, trying to understand the cost structure. Everything's kind of about like, how do we catch Tesla? So this autonomy race is the next race. I think the EV race has been well established that it's China and it's Tesla. And now this next race is like, how do you monetize this more with consumers? And that would be getting autonomy. And remember, in China, the accident rate is much higher. So if they can get autonomy working, be very reliable, it can really meaningfully impact the population from a safety and security perspective in China. So it's a big deal.
You know who else is a big deal? You are, Jeff. Thank you very much. You have our best net promoter score. People love you. They always say we love you as a guest. Appreciate you joining me every week. And then you have the least complaint rate. You're probably a 2.3 for complaint rate for you. Thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate you. Follow him on X at the Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.